Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Gary Harper.
And I'm Colin Stanton.
Yeah, I know. You almost forgot to jump in there.
Yeah, I know. I'm still adjusting.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Susan Campbell remains on maternity leave. So, again, my producer, Colin Stanton, is joining us, and I appreciate you filling in, Colin.
Yeah, I'll get used to it about the time Susan comes back.
But as soon as you're comfy, she'll be back in the spot. Man, how was the drive in today? You and I talked a little bit about this earlier.
A little tough. School's back in, so freeway's getting a little more crowded. I've never figured out why the freeway gets worse when school's back, because I don't know who commutes to school on the freeway, but it gets worse every time this year.
I noticed that when school is in session, for whatever reason, the interstate and the freeway, a lot more congested.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe it's college kids commuting?
Could be.
Teachers?
Could be people who are staying at home while the kids are in school or back in the office now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just a lot of cars.
But it happens every year.
Man, it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to get here today.
Oh, that's brutal.
It was terrible. Yeah.
See, for me, it's still only like 35 minutes.
Oh, that is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
I mean, even on smooth days when I just kind of sail through, it's 30 minutes for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why, as you know, I do a lot of my work from home in the morning to kind of like avoid all that mess.
Yeah.
And then, it's just a straight shoot. But today came in a little early. We need to get things done, man.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So, hey, today we're talking to Shannon Martin. She's with BankRate, and BankRate released a rather interesting investigation into the hidden costs of owning a car. Shannon joins us on the On Your Side podcast. Hey, Shannon, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing
Good.
great. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Buffalo, New York, upstate.
How's the traffic up there?
It's hit or miss. We have tons of festivals in the summer, so we actually have a lot of local traffic in the summer, and then it just gets worse. Our school doesn't start until next month.
Oh, wow. So is that like a really extended summer for the kids up there?
It ends late. They didn't end until like almost the last week of June, and then it just starts after the first week in September.
Yeah, they've already started here, so I think it's because of the weather.
Yeah.
You know, they want to get them, I guess, started
Yeah,
now.
by the end of the school year, if we stuck around till June, the kids would be gone.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not getting an 8-year-old's attention when it's 110 degrees.
So I registered my car. We're talking about hidden costs of owning a car, Shannon. I registered my car. I've had it for 1 year, and it came with some sticker shock here in Arizona. I had to pay $700 just to get my tags for my license plate.
That's terrible.
$700. What is going on here in Arizona, Colin?
I don't know. We probably make up for it in other spots, but that's rough.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fairly new car, but good Lord, I was not really expecting that.
1 year or 2 years?
Well, that's for 1 year. I'm not writing a check for $1,300 to the state of Arizona for 2 years. No, they can wait another year on that.
Yeah, they can wait.
But that's probably a pretty good example of hidden costs of owning a car, registration, or also known as taxes. Tell me a little bit about that. What did BankRate find out about taxes and registration for cars? I think that's something people don't really consider when they buy a car, even if it's a used one.
That's exactly why we did this study. Because most of us, when we're looking to buy a car, we understand it's a long-term financial commitment. We have to save up for the down payment, figure out our monthly costs as far as our car lease or loan. But there are extra costs that kind of creep up throughout the ownership time of the car. And for our study, the four parts that we looked at were car insurance, tax, car maintenance, and gas expenses. And we found that Americans on average spend about $557 per month in addition to their regular monthly car payment to own a car.
Wow. So that's all those four categories probably added up together to get to that $500 total?
Yep, those four categories added up together to give you around $557 per month. And of course, that monthly price changes depending on what state you live in and a few other factors. But that's where we are nationally, which is a big chunk of our household budgets.
If you have a $500 car payment a month, you got to tack on another $500 plus. I mean, you're looking at $1,000 just in, owning a car.
And these days, $500 a month for a car payment is probably really on the low side.
That is on the low side. Yeah, I think it's closer to over 7.5, like maybe almost $800 a month, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's getting up into mortgage territory when you add everything
It really
together.
is. And you know what? Here's the crazy thing. I'm digressing, but a lot of people are now financing for 7 or 8 years. Just to get the payment down. It is crazy. Shannon, talking about some of the states, you said it kind of varies from state to state. Since we're in Arizona, Let's start with Arizona, and then we'll move to some of the other states because I know you kind of ranked them from more expensive states to the least expensive states, and the results were kind of surprising. However, in Arizona, what are we looking at here with owning a car?
Arizona came in just a little bit above the national average. If you want to rank them out, it would be like in the 21st place. Over a year, it's $7,024. So that rounds out to $585 per month in hidden vehicle expenses.
Do you think people kind of calculate that when they're buying a car? Do they factor that in, or is it kind of sticker shock when they start driving it and then realize, wow, this is pricey?
A little bit of both. So people might get, I used to be an insurance agent. I worked in insurance for 16 years. So all the time people would call in, I'm getting a new car, think it's a Toyota, give me a quote. And you can't really quote a random Toyota and expect that quote to be the same when you purchase your exact vehicle. So people know to look into some things ahead of time. We use this report as a way to let people know there's a better way to shop for new cars now to where you won't have that sticker shock, a year later when you go to pay the taxes or renew your policy. So most dealerships have the full VIN number on their website now. So I suggest collecting any car that you think you might be interested in. Get the full VIN number first, get a quote from your insurance agent, and that would be a basically 2 penny quote ahead of time. And then look into things like the maintenance, how much are tires. That way, when you go to shop, you're only picking from cars you know fit within your regular budget going forward.
Yeah, great idea.
And while you're talking about insurance, I noticed I went through and saw where Arizona ranked everywhere, and insurance was the one where we kind of spiked. We're on the higher end for insurance. Why is that? Is there a reason why a place like Arizona would be more costly for insurance than others?
Arizona is a little bit more expensive than the national average. Arizona is around $2,500 a year for full coverage car insurance. That includes your comprehensive and collision. And nationally, it's around $2,300 a year. And when it comes to something that is kind of that slight, it has to do with regional differences. So you're going to have to look into the different kinds of coverage Arizona has. What's the rate of thefts within the state? Because that really impacts comprehensive coverage. That's been going up nationally. And what's also been creeping up is litigation in terms of car insurance claims and fraud. So those types of things can really play a part in why rates are going up in certain areas.
Let's talk about some of the more expensive states to have a car. And number one on the list is, to me, very surprising. Tell us number one, and why did that rank so high?
The highest and most expensive state is Georgia. They're around $2,900 a year, which translates to around $687 per month in additional expenses. And Georgia was interesting because it didn't rank number one really in any of the categories, but all the categories combined moved it to the top. So they tend to pay a little bit more in vehicle tax, slightly more than average in car insurance, but really annual mileage is kind of the factor that moves states up or down. And in Georgia, the annual mileage is around $17,500 a year, which increases what you're spending in gas and car maintenance. Now, for drivers in Arizona, the annual mileage in Arizona is only around $13,000 a year. So things like maintenance and gas prices are actually a little bit lower than you might anticipate.
Wow, that's a shocker, $13,000 a year.
Yeah, I was surprised by some of the gas numbers because our prices are generally well above average nationwide, and particularly California, I would have guessed would run away with the most expensive gas costs. But that wasn't the case. I don't even think California was top 5, and we were below average.
Right. That was the most shocking discovery. I know that annual mileage matters, especially in terms of car insurance rate, but it didn't occur to me how much it impacts what our yearly gas mileage is. California is notorious for having super high gas prices, but annually they only drive, I believe, like around 11,000 miles per year. Now, Indiana, which pays about $1 less per gallon in gas, they drive drastically more, almost twice as much. So in Indiana, they spend $2,900 a year in gas. In California, they spend $2,000 a year in gas on average.
Man, I thought everything was higher in California.
Yeah.
So I guess in this one they're doing well.
Yeah, I would have thought commutes in California would be higher, but apparently not. And I noticed looking at the numbers, if you want to drive in a cheap place, Washington D.C. looks like the bargain city of the U.S.
I think I know the reason why on this. I think I know.
Do you want to guess?
Is it public transportation?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great guess. It's public transportation, availability of rideshare, things like that, which is the same reason why it's lower in California as well. They have great infrastructure and great alternatives to having to commute everywhere because we all hear about how horrible those California commutes are. The same thing applies in DC.
Yeah, I visited DC just 6 months ago with my son, and we went everywhere on the train. I mean, it was so easy. You get everywhere on public transportation. We didn't take.
Mhm.
I don't think we took a bus. We took a train everywhere. So,
Yeah.
what about some other states that are ranking kind of high up there? You got Louisiana, Florida, Nevada.
Yeah, Louisiana, what's interesting about the higher ranking states is most of them are higher ranking in car insurance, and most of them have personal injury protection, which is an additional type of medical payments coverage that other states don't necessarily have. And then Louisiana is also the most expensive state in terms of car insurance. So we know that's why it's going to rank high on our list and has slightly higher annual mileage. What's interesting is some of the states that are lower, like New Hampshire, that's the cheapest state. In New Hampshire, you don't technically have to have car insurance to drive. It's always a good idea. And no one at BankRate will tell you not to have car insurance. But legally, you don't necessarily have to have it. And the cost of car insurance there is about half of what it is in Georgia.
Wow.
How do things change if you have an electric car? Obviously, you don't have to deal with the gas prices, but beyond that, is there a big difference here if we're talking electric versus gas?
Well, this study didn't actually look at electric
Okay.
vehicles, but it's interesting that you said that. Some of the people I interviewed for the article, one of the gentlemen who lives in Georgia actually owns, I think he said 3 Teslas and a Lexus. So he's probably not hurting for money, but those Teslas, he said, when he went to register them, I think it was $250 versus his Lexus being $50 every year when he has to renew his registration. So if
Wow.
people are looking at considering EVs, you need to look into what are your local registrations, what are your tax laws? Are you thinking about having it connected to your home? So you need a home bank. So there are a lot of other costs you need to think about.
Well, I think consumers, when it comes to buying cars, and by the way, I just read a published report today saying that used cars prices anyway are coming down because
Good.
there's huge discounts on the new cars. They want to get rid of them, so they're trying to also get rid of the pre-owned cars as well. But when it does come to buying a car, and sometimes people have to buy a car because they got into a wreck, they total it for whatever reason, and that happened to you.
Happened to me.
How much research did you do with looking for a car?
Quite a bit. And I knew roughly what I wanted and narrowed it down pretty quickly and
Yeah.
found a good price.
But did you do all the hidden costs like we're talking about
No,
right now?
did
you
not look at
did
that.
you look into insurance and stuff?
To be fair, the car I bought was very similar to the car I had
yeah,
totaled.
right.
So
You knew
so
what you were
I knew
getting.
I was getting into more
Yeah.
or less. Yeah. But when I bought that previous car, no idea about the cost.
Yeah, no idea. Was
Yeah.
that a little sticker shock for you?
A little bit, yeah.
How's the gas mileage on your car?
It's not bad. It's better than my old one.
Oh wow, really?
A little bit, yeah.
And it's a bigger car too.
A little.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
better gas mileage. I think probably because it's newer.
Yeah, I think so.
For some reason, the newer cars get the better, miles per
Yeah.
gallon. All right, listen, I want our viewers, if they're looking for a car, they've got to check out those 4 categories. We got the registration. You got to look to see how much that is, or you're going to run into sticker shock like me. That was painful.
I
Paying
bet.
that $700, man.
Yeah.
You got to look into insurance. And Shannon, that was a great idea. Get the VIN number and then call your insurance agent to see how much it's going to cost for your insurance. I think a lot of people get caught with their pants down on that one, and it's too late because they bought the car. You got to look at the gas mileage, of course, to see how much you're going to be paying for gas. And what was the fourth category again, Shannon?
The other one is like tax and maintenance. So you want to look at like how much it costs to own and operate your vehicle. So if you're picking a car that's maybe a high-end vehicle that has specialty tires and specialty parts, when it comes time to replace those parts, it costs more. And we're experiencing, as Arizona knows, super hot summers, right? So the rubber parts, windshield wiper blades, and tires, things like that, wear out quicker than they have in the past. So we're spending more money now on maintenance than we were before. So you want to think about those costs ahead of time.
Yeah, I think Arizona is considered severe driving conditions,
Yeah.
and it's not because of bad weather, rain and stuff. Obviously, we live in the desert, but it's because of the
It's heat.
extreme heat.
Yeah, you can throw in car batbatteries for us too. Because
Exactly.
we go through those like
we go. That's a
like
great
crazy.
point. Car batteries. I had one car 2 cars ago. Battery went out. You had to take off No, it was in the back seat. That's what it was. It was
Yeah.
in the back seat. I couldn't even get to it.
Mine's in the trunk.
In the trunk.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very weird.
I mean, what happens if you need to jump the car?
Mine has pegs in the front
Oh,
that
okay.
connect to the battery that's in the back.
Yeah.
That's actually something that's contributing to how expensive these maintenance costs are, though, because if you look back 20 years ago, it was easier to fix your car yourself and take certain parts out. But now the things are rearranged so much that you need a specialty mechanic to get to them. And the labor cost associated with that is actually much higher than it used to be. So that is something that is part of like, when you're shopping for a car, how easy is it to fix simple things on your own?
Yeah, and I'll give you one more example. 2 cars ago, the one with the battery in the back, my headlight went out, and I couldn't get to the headlight. And you know what happened? You have to take the bumper off. I had to take it. Yeah, I took it to the mechanic, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this will be pretty simple." And I go to a restaurant across the street just to let him change it out. And he calls me. He's like, "This is going to be like an hour and a half worth of labor." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I have to take the front bumper off." Who makes cars like that?
I don't know. I had a Honda, and I needed to replace the headlight bulb, and it's literally a 2-minute process.
Right.
It couldn't be easier. And then I traded that in and got another car where you have to remove the tires. You have to take the front wheels off to get to the headlights.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, engineers, very smart, but sometimes they're too smart for their own good. I mean, they need to rethink some of these things before they put the cars out there. All right, Shannon, thanks so much for being on the On Your Side podcast. If people want to find out more about you or BankRate, because I know BankRate does a lot of things, just tell us where we can find you.
You'll just go to bankrate.com, and we actually have articles and assistance on all types of financial products. If you're interested in reading more about the things that I write about, you'll just look under auto in home, and I'll be there with lots of tips and tricks for you.
Yeah, we love bankrate.com because you guys are a wealth of information. So, Shannon, thanks again for being on the On Your Side podcast, and good luck to your driving habits and maintenance up there in Buffalo, okay?
Snow is a slightly bigger problem for you than it is for us, I think.
Snow and salt.
Absolutely. My least favorite thing. So thank you. I need the good luck.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Shannon.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.